Hi, and welcome back. The other evening I attended online a gathering of the Arkansas Council of Black Catholics. They met at the House of Formation in Little Rock, the facility where young men from our diocese discern a calling to the priesthood. It was a listening session led by Father Warren Harvey, a black priest of our diocese, and chaplain to the Council of Black Catholics. Present beside the 24 online participants were approximately 25 members of the council and a similar number of seminarians and priests. Father Harvey began by saying that this meeting was not meant to solve the issue of racism, but to be a listening session. He then compared the racism to the coronavirus that has so infected our nation and our world. Everyone is susceptible to it. Racism, he said, is also a pandemic that has infected our society for centuries. Those who fight for justice, said Father Harvey, are like the point of a plow. They are first to hit the rocks and the roots, but they clear the way for others and make it possible for the seeds of peace to be planted. Father then began a kind of show and tell. He passed around a bottle of Aunt Jemima syrup. She's changed over the years, no longer wearing the red headscarf, but now Quaker Oats will remove her as an advertising logo later this year. What does the Aunt Jemima image evoke in us? Some at the gathering mentioned slavery, the Old South, Gone with the Wind, and some wondered why she was smiling. And then we were shown a Confederate flag, eliciting remarks like redneck, ignorance, injustice, KKK, fear, racism, war, and so on. We know that symbols or logos bear a lot of meaning and are perceived in different ways. As a white person, I might see a smiling black woman on a bottle of syrup as an invitation to buy that product. No doubt the intention of the makers of that brand. I might look at the Confederate battle flag as a piece of history, a reminder of a lost cause for which many bravely fought and died. But I'm not black. If I were, I might see the syrup brand, even though updated, as a reminder of paternalistic attitude wherein a dominant part of the American culture saw black women as maids or as house servants. If I were a black living in Mississippi, I might look at the Confederate symbol in the corner of that state's flag as saying, "The South shall rise again," with all the baggage those words imply. Those at the listening session were then shown a sign in the large black letters that said, "I can't breathe." What were the reactions? I wrote them down as quickly as I could. For example, helplessness, frustration, lack of dignity, cry for help, cruelty, anger, abuse of power, historical experience between life and death, inequality, survival. And when shown another sign that read, "Black Lives Matter," the main theme was equality, as in all people are created equal and endowed with their Creator with certain inalienable rights. By the way, many of the reactions I just mentioned were given by the white participants as they imagine what racial minorities often experience. I've heard women say that when they come to their husbands with a problem, they're not necessarily looking for a solution. They just want someone to listen to them, not immediately to offer suggestions on how to fix the problem. Active, receptive listening is essential to any good communication, and this is no less true in race relations. Screaming is not communicating, it's just screaming, and it does nothing to further understanding, which must come first. The show and tell activity with the members of the Council of Black Catholics is a good example of the listening that leads to understanding. Being misunderstood, being ridiculed, or being dismissed as unimportant lead to anger. No one wants to be treated as a racial caricature, and so some products will be rebranded. We might not be able to watch Gone with the Wind or Driving Miss Daisy on Netflix now. Statues that honor soldiers who fought for the South in the Civil War are being taken from their pedestals, sometimes torn down. Other statues that represent persons who stood for old segregationist ideologies are also facing removal from sight. And some sports teams are reconsidering mascots. I know of one aircraft carrier that could be renamed because its namesake was a segregationist senator from the South. Race relations have reached a critical mass in the United States. What black persons and other minorities have endured for so long as a result of ignorance or fear or just plain hate must end. I invite all of us to take a look at our casual references to minorities as somehow comical or cute, simply because they're not from the dominant culture of the United States. Do you remember the Frito Bandito or Yo Quiero Taco Bell? I would add that Anglos in St. Vincent de Paul Parish are a minority, next to the majority who speak Spanish. Try coming to a Mass in Spanish or Vietnamese. You will feel lost, but so do others who move into new situations from their own cultures. Nations must have borders, but ultimately there are really no boundaries. The world belongs to God, and we get to live in it. We're all brothers and sisters, children of one Father. In our next chat, I'd like to resume a discussion of the U.S. Catholic Bishop's pastoral letter on racism called Open Wide Our Hearts. Until then, let's keep in mind that we're all brothers and sisters, all God's children, all loved equally by Christ.